Hi, folks. Today we're offering a meditation on a story that comes from the book of Kings, Second Kings chapter 5. And this is a story about a man named Naaman who is healed by the prophet Elisha. So Naaman is someone in Syria. He's not from Israel, and he is a general. He's a very important person. And he has a skin disease. We're back to another skin disease. He has a skin disease, and it is the kind of thing that means that he has to be isolated from the rest of society. And his whole household is mourning this. It's a big change. It's a loss in status for him. And his servant, there's a servant girl who lives with his family and helps his wife, and she is from Israel. She's been captured from Israel, and she's thinking about this terrible thing that's happened to her master. And she says, "Oh, I wish that my master were in Israel, where there's a true prophet who could really help him and heal him." And his wife hears this and is just latches onto it, and Naaman hears it and latches onto it. And so they're going to go to Israel and find this prophet. So Naaman knows the king of Syria, and the king cares about him very much. He's a top level general. So the king writes a letter and says, "Please heal Naaman, my servant." And Naaman gets his big entourage all together, and he rides to Jerusalem. And the king in Jerusalem, he presents this letter to the king in Jerusalem. And the king in Jerusalem is like, "Holy crap, what the heck am I supposed to do? I can't heal a skin disease. I don't know what to do." But Elisha, who lives out in the middle of nowhere, kinda, finds out that this is happening, and he sends a letter. He says, "Send him to me. I'll take care of it." So Naaman and his whole entourage, all the people, all the gifts, the silver, all come, and they ride up to Elisha's little hut. And Elisha does have a servant who's living with him, and he sends him out, and the servant goes out. Elisha doesn't go out. The servant goes out and says, "Go and wash yourself 7 times in the Jordan River, and you'll be clean." And Naaman is so mad. And he's like, "There's beautiful and wonderful rivers in Syria. Why did I have to come all the way here to be healed?" And he just storms away, and he's about to just go home in total anger. And but his servants, the people around him, say, "Look, if he asked you to do something hard, you would have done it. So why don't you do this thing that he said?" And Naaman's like, "Well, I was hoping he'd kind of wave his hands over me." They're like, "No, it's not. Just do what he said." So Naaman goes and he washes, and his skin comes clean and even better than new, really, like a young child's skin. And Naaman is so happy. He comes back to Elijah's little hut, and he's like, "Please let me pay you. I have all these sets of clothes. I have silver." And Elisha says, "No, none of it. Send it away." So Naaman's like, "Okay, well, can I take some dirt with me to pray to your God?" And Elisha's like, "Sure, you can." And so Naaman goes on his way, but then the servant follows after, because he's like, "How can you let this guy get away for free?" And the servant says, "Elisha changed his mind. He said, you need to give me a sack of silver and a bunch of clothes, 2 sets of clothes." And so Naaman's like, "Great, I'm so happy to do that." And he gives the servant those things. The servant goes back to Elisha, and Elisha says, "You shouldn't have done that." And that's when the servant sees the skin disease crawling onto his arms.
Yeah, I think this is an important
What
character to know. The servant's name is Gehazi.
What's the name? Gehazi?
Gehazi, yeah.
Thank you, Gehazi, yeah.
Gehazi. And there's actually a Rudyard Kipling poem about Gehazi. And
Really?
years ago, I became obsessed with this character.
Yeah.
He was one of my favorites. And I started playing a character of him with his name in a game. And I just sort of I love this idea of this guy who just wanted to get not let this guy get away being rich and getting what he wanted.
Right.
And didn't understand that the humility that happened in the story was where he learned his lesson.
Yeah.
The humility of washing himself in the dirty river, the humility of not being met by the master but by his servant, the humility of not going to a king, but going to this nobody. That was where he learned his cleanliness.
Yeah.
And Gehazi just didn't understand it, and he wanted to have comeuppance. And whenever I think of an opportunity for me to be like, I want to get justice, I think about Gehazi, because he's such an interesting character that sought justice and found that the way that justice works, the way that we want it to work, is never a
It's not
balance that we
true.
actually want. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah. I mean, there's a lot of things here. What did you hear? I heard isolation,
Mm-hmm.
being
Yeah.
disconnected, and I also heard like a simple answer that seems really relevant right now, because we
Sure.
know what the answer is to what we need to do. It's simple, but
Right.
it's hard. It's that
Yeah.
hard thing where we say, I'm going to change the way I look at my life. It's not something that's going to be in your house. Don't interact with those people the way you used to.
Mm-hmm.
It's not cut off my arm. It's not take this medicine. We're
Mm-hmm.
so used to expensive remedies. We're so
Right.
used to, going to hospital, and like the actual remedy for this is different. So what do you hear?
I am hearing, I think we touched on this yesterday, but this idea that you cannot buy your way out
Yeah.
of, you
Yeah.
cannot buy your health. Um,
Hmm.
and I guess that is pointing to valuing things in a different way, having a different way
Yeah.
of placing our value, and thinking about how the truth may be out in the backwoods, right? um, Out in the little river that doesn't have the greatness of the empires of Syria. Because the Syrian Empire is, if I remember, I don't remember what era this is, but that's like a serious world power at the time.
Yeah.
And Israel, most of its time, is kind of a backwater, and this is part of
Yeah.
it. And
It,
so,
it,
yeah.
I also thought about how the servant girl, she
Hmm.
could have kept her mouth shut,
Yeah.
and in all reality, she should have kept her mouth shut, because again, justice for this man who has just conquered her people and taken what he wanted would not be that he is healed, right?
Yeah.
And I read an article today about how on the turnover of the presidency from Obama to Trump, the Obama level administrators were taking the opportunity to really let the people know that we're coming in this new administration. Look, there's these things that might happen. They went through different scenarios:
Hmm.
active shooter, a homeland terrorist strike, and one of them was a unique virus, a new cold, or flu that was sweeping through the nation, and went through these like the process to pretend like it was happening and teach them what they had done in the past for things like Ebola, and give them the resources. And in the article, it said they literally would throw the folders full of information into the garbage, because they wanted to rebuild sort of how they would learn how to do it. And the humility of that is you can learn from even your enemies.
Right.
The people that had just lost were giving them this resource and saying, we're going to take the time to walk you through what we think would be best for the country.
Right.
And they scoffed at that. They scorned the advances of help. And so I think that there's a lot of opportunities that we have to, and I'm dealing with this right now when I'm trying to help the neighborhood. Someone else comes with another idea that's maybe a little bit better or a little bit sharper or has some experience behind it that I don't have. It is up to me to stand back and say, you're right. I need to let you take the lead on this. I can't help others with the toxicity of taking the lead only for my own ego.
Hmm.
Because at some point, you need to let the purpose that you're trying to accomplish, in this instance, healing Naaman, not just externally, but internally, be about submission. And there's something about this whole experience we're having now that means we let go of the hubris that we've had for a long time. I don't know, something like that.
Yeah. I think that's good, right? That the thing that Naaman is learning, or the way that he's growing, is in letting go and in giving something to God,
Yeah.
giving his ego over to God. Hmm.
One last story. I was just talking to another parishioner, and they were saying that they were working in a hospital, and someone was demanding a test,
Hmm.
demanding, and the person was was a diplomat from DC demanding a test, and there was none to be had. And the person I was talking to was like, I can't, there's absolutely nothing I can do. And to be reminded that this particular circumstance is affecting all of us equally. There's not a way for one person to be above another. It's a great equalizer. It's very interesting to see how it's affecting us sociologically. So
Yep.
maybe the gospel of this is we're in it together, and in our humility we find connection. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's mine. What do you think?
That's good. I am wishing for everyone blessings of enjoying the time outside and of the beauty and connecting in unexpected ways, connecting in new ways.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I'm wishing for everyone.
Thanks, Amy.
Okay. Thank you,
That's
Jim.
great. All right.